Yo guys, what's going on? What's happening? It's Classic. And no, your eyes do not deceive you. That is a street car actually drifting in the Crew 2. So in my last video, I said that once I get to icon level, I'm going to go through the pro settings, a little bit more and kind of dial it in and give you guys a bit of an update video in terms of to see what we can do to kind of improve the handling, if you will. And what I kind of discovered, it's kind of changed the game for me. I love this game even more now. Just being the ability to reduce the grip that the car has and allow the car to slide. It just makes driving for me more fun, and this can pretty much apply to any street car. I've tried it with a couple of rally cars, similar kind of situation. Now, as before, in the description below is my settings. If you just want to copy them and get cracking, feel free. But this is a little bit more specific. So I'm going to go through each setting and kind of explain what it does, at least in this application. But it seems to be quite specific to one, what car you have, and two, your personal preference of how much you want things to slide. So I'm going to go through the settings right now and kind of, at least to my knowledge, explain what each one seems to do. Now, I am not the biggest drifter. I'm not the biggest drifting fan, but my hope with making this video is that someone who understands that kind of scene a little bit more will kind of pick this up and run with it and fine tune it even further. So hopefully, in the comments or on the Reddit, we can hopefully you guys can dig into this and make things even better. Before we get started, I just want to explain how to get to this menu, because in the last video, a couple of people were in the comments saying they struggled to find it. So what you need to do is you need to go to the start menu, go to your vehicles, select the vehicle you want and go to performance. And at the bottom of the screen, there is a pro settings menu. You need to click on that and that will bring up the more advanced settings. Now, as I mentioned before, you need to be icon level 1 to unlock all of these. You unlock a few as you go along with each as you progress through, like rookie and star, but to get all of them, you'll need to be icon 1. Okay, so the most important thing with this is the front and rear tire grip. This is kind of, you don't have to back this off very much and the car will start to slide. And now obviously traction control is off, ESP is off, and slide help is completely off. The tire grip is, obviously if you jump on the game and you put the tire grip to absolute 0, you can have a lot of fun and you can just slide about, but there seems to be, there's a happy medium between, allowing the car to slide and maintaining the speed. And this is probably the biggest problem with this, is that you might see in some of the clips kind of, it's a big sweeping corner, you're in a third, fourth gear drift, and halfway through the car it starts to bog down and it starts to lose speed. I don't know if it's something to do with like the gravity in the game, but it seems very difficult to keep the car sliding. So I've done my best to try and figure this out to the best of my ability, but I think there's still some slight limitations. This M3, M4 is 505 horsepower. It's got like a few modifications to it. It works like this completely stock, and I presume even like the low end cars, the street RX-7 350Z, bone stock will do this kind of thing. But then the more power you add, the more aggressive this will be. But rear and front tire grip, most important. Now, for the M3, M4, I get mixed up. I've got the rear tire grip of 5 and the front on 8. Now this is part of the balance in terms of getting the car to slide but keeping forward momentum a little bit, and also being able to still have enough grip on the front to be able to change direction. Once the car pitches at an angle, if some of these settings are off, it can be very difficult to sort of drag the car back, in the opposite direction. So again, play around this. On my GT3, I've got them on exactly the same. I think I've got them both on 8 and 8, just to allow a little bit of slide on that. Now, the other important part of this was the Aero Distribution. If you put the Aero Distribution on 100% front, the car pivots on the front axle, right? It will pitch into a slide super easy, but then it kind of goes too far and there's only a certain amount of steering lock, so then you just end up spinning out. I played around with this. I had this in all sorts of different positions, and it seems, like I mentioned earlier, in terms of getting the car into a slide and maintaining it, putting the Aero Distribution on the rear just helps kind of add enough grip to the rear wheels so that although they're spinning, they're still generating a little bit of grip to push the car forward. It's not perfect, but it's kind of the best I could come up with. The other important one is the front camber. Now this again is important for getting the car to be able to, go from left to right, and be able to, even if the back end's out in one direction, being able to drag the car the opposite way. And just adding the camber makes the car, the front end more pointy. So that was kind of perfect. The rear's just on 5, I presume, right? So 0 would be negative camber. Let's say 5 negative camber, and positive would be 5 positive camber. So I'm assuming, 5 is dead center, dead 0, neutral camber. I could be wrong about that. I don't know. There isn't a visual cue on the wheels like there is in like Forza Horizon. The other is the anti-roll bars. Now I've got them on as stiff as possible. Whether or not you could adjust the front a little bit, I had a play around. It didn't seem to, I couldn't get it into a sweet spot. So stick them on super stiff, and that way, the slide isn't getting dissipated by any movement in body roll. And this is where I think maybe with the suspension compression and rebound, again, you could maybe stiffen that up to help the slide. But again, it kind of is going beyond my scope and knowledge of drifting, really. I just want to touch on the standard control settings through the options menu, because a couple of these are quite important for this. Someone explained to me in the comments of the last video in a little bit more detail how the steering linearity works. So it's important that this is on 0. Basically, the lower this is, the more linear the progression, which is what you want. The steering dead zone, I've got that on 2, which is it's slightly personal preference, but basically the higher this is, the more trouble you're going to have getting the car to slide from left to right. If it's too high, there's going to be too much of a delay in your inputs. And given that, with street cars, there seems to be a limit to how much steering angle there actually is in the physics engine for the street cars. It's important that your inputs are recognized quickly. So, if you are struggling, make sure your dead zone's, notched down to 2, 1, or even 0 if you want to go that far. But yeah, that is about it. I hope everyone enjoys this as much as I have. I think it's great, and I'm going to, go through each car and kind of tune it up. The good thing about this is these options, these icon options, are car specific. So, my M4 is different to the GT3 RS, which is actually quite important, because if you back off the tire grip too much on a car, it's going to be pretty difficult to win any races with it, because you're going to be sliding and the AI aren't. So I've got, my TT is kind of my race car for doing the event. So that's kind of left standard. But anything else, so you can adjust on an individual car basis exactly how you want it. But yeah, appreciate it, guys, and I'll see you next time.